I want to talk about Vladimir Posner. He's a fascinating language learner. He's not a YouTube polyglot. He was one of the top talk show hosts and journalists in Russia for decades. And he's in his 90s now. But there are Russians who did not know that he was not a Russian native speaker. So he's another rare example of someone who learns a language after the critical period, after puberty basically, and achieves a native level. I have a video where I talk about Charlize Theron. By the way, in that video I quoted her. She said she didn't start learning English till 19 in one interview, but really she did know English when she was younger. There's an interview of her when she's 16 and she speaks English, but she has a very noticeable accent. So it's still, she is still proof that even if you have an accent as an adult, because I think she moved to America and started really practicing her American accent at like 19, you can eventually reach native like pronunciation. So, similar story, Vladimir Posner, his father was Russian, but he didn't grow up speaking Russian. His mom didn't allow it. And even for the first 5 years of his life, which is those first 5 years they say are the most important for getting used to hearing those sounds that will help you become a native, sound like a native speaker. His father didn't even live with him. They were separated. So he didn't hear any Russian for the first 5 years of his life, and he didn't really hear much. Maybe he heard his father's accent, but they weren't allowed to speak Russian. His mom wanted him to speak French. And interestingly enough, his French is native, and his English also sounds native. I've only heard a little of his English, but he sounds like, because he lived in America for a lot of his childhood. He sounds like an American. But he moved to East Berlin when he was 14 and began taking classes in Russian because people spoke Russian there, but not generally. Most people in East Berlin didn't speak Russian like natives. They spoke it with a German accent, or they were just learning Russian, and not very enthusiastically. So at 14, the family moved to East Berlin. He started to study Russian. But studying Russian a hour or two a day is one thing, but living in a Russian speaking environment is another thing. Um, so for a few years he was learning it, he was studying it, and at 18, then they moved to Russia. The family moved to Russia, and he fully immersed. But he was way past the critical period at that point. Yet he studied a lot on his own and eventually reached native like pronunciation, where many people can't tell that he's not a native speaker. And he describes his method early on, and it is very much in line with what I recommend. He did not speak a lot, he listened a lot. So I talk about Charlize Theron in another video. She also achieved native-like pronunciation. She sounds like an American. But in that video, I said she learned English. She didn't speak English until she was 19. Actually, I got that from a quote. She said that in an interview. But in reality, there's an interview with her where she speaks English at 16. But she has a strong accent from South Africa. So it is true that she got rid of her accent. She achieved an American native-like accent in adulthood after immersing in America and practicing it. She also listened all day. She listened a lot, a lot, a lot. She did speak, but she was listening and repeating. And she was an actress, so she got a lot of speech coaching as well. But I don't know exactly how much speaking she did at the beginning. As far as I understand, Vladimir Posner did not speak very much. He mostly looked up words in the dictionary that he read in books, and he went to the cinema, to Soviet movie theaters, to watch Soviet films every day. Every single day. He was listening to hours of language. And of course, he eventually was living there and listening a lot in an immersive environment. So um, it's funny because the woman that had the video where I learned about him was suggesting that this wasn't the best method, that you should speak more at the beginning. I wanted to message her. I don't think she's active on YouTube anymore, but I'd say he's one of the rare people who achieves native-like pronunciation as an adult, and yet you're doubting the way that he did it. So I always say, if you if you follow this new trend and you just try to talk immediately, which goes against what most people feel like do. They don't want to speak. It also is not what children do. They listen for years before speaking. Um, if you just start speaking, I don't care how it's pronounced, whatever. You just start speaking. Sure, you'll get to fluency quicker. You'll be able to talk. You'll be able to speak the language quicker, but your accent will get stuck.